The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
From the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Herod the Tetrarch heard about all that was happening, and he was greatly perplexed because some were saying, "John has been raised from the dead." Others were saying, "Elijah has appeared." Still others, "One of the ancient prophets has arisen." But Herod said, "John I beheaded. Who then is this about whom I hear such things?" And he kept trying to see him. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Herod wanted to see Jesus, but in one translation, it has been put in this way that Herod was anxious to see Jesus. Anxious to see Jesus. After hearing what Jesus did, after observing how people describe who Jesus is to them, he was thought to be John, he was thought to be prophet of old. What he did, what he said, Herod was anxious to meet Jesus. It tells of who Herod is. When you are come face to face with goodness, kindness, and there's some kind of anxiety in you, if goodness and kindness presented to you and the effect is anxiety, it must be something. Because when there is kindness and goodness and you're excited to have it or experience it, then also it tells something of the kind of conscience you have. But why is it that is in Herod, after hearing who Jesus is, what he did, he was anxious? Or perhaps put it in another way, he was disturbed. If this is what is happening in our experience, in our ordinary experience, in the meeting of persons, and in the clashing of events, if this is how it is, that when there is kindness and you are anxious, then there must be something wrong. And when kindness is met with excitement, enthusiasm, then it speaks of the goodness that is in you. If this is how it is being described in the meeting of persons and events, this is also the same basis we have in our own persons. In each one of us, the tension in each one of us, there is always the tension. St. Paul puts it this way: I know what is good, but why is it that I do something bad? And we hear it from so many saints. St. Augustine even had it. The tension between good and bad in each one of us. So we must develop that what we call healthy conscience, what we call sound conscience. Because if we have such conscience, when there is some kind of evil or bad action, this conscience will always be disturbed. But if our conscience is calloused, if our conscience is not that healthy, perhaps you are excited with bad deeds. Perhaps we even look forward to a bad situation. So let this short gospel account reminds us of not just of what we experience from the outside, but it tells us, reminds us of our own struggle, each one of us. And it is really for real. This is in each one of us. And we are faced with this every day of our lives. This is for real. So we need to develop healthy consciences. Healthy consciences. Because these healthy consciences, it is where God dwells. It is where God speaks. He delivers His message. But if our consciences are not well informed and polished, we hear nothing. Even if we indulge ourselves in vices, if we are already indulge ourselves with sinfulness, then we get used to it. But with healthy consciences, the moment you commit mistake, you cannot go to sleep. Because God says, my son, my daughter, I love you so much. I want to end this sharing with this. People ask me, Father, how is it to do good confession? I hear it often. Or I am often asked, how is it to do good confession? Perhaps you have your own answer when you're also asked the same question. How is it to do good confession? My answer is always this. Good confession is a fruit of real, authentic prayer. Good confession is a result of a true prayer. When you pray, God tells you straight, my son, my daughter, here are your sins. My son, my daughter, I love you so much. Listen to this. Good confession, fruit of true prayer, because God speaks to our consciences. Because confession is not just listing sins committed. No. When confession is done from your mind and by your own memories, the longer you are making the lists, the lesser the sins there are in your lists. Because there are this tendency in us that we make even excuses. We say, is this a sin? Perhaps, but this sin is committed long time ago and God has forgotten this already. Is this a sin? Perhaps, but I was a victim to this. No, I was at the far end. I was a victim. I'm not the one carrying it out. So I could be forgiven. So before you know it, nothing is left there. But when you pray, God tells you straight, my son, my daughter, I love you so much. Here are your sins. Good confession is a fruit of true prayer. Before you go to confession, pray. Ask the Lord, Lord, what are my sins? Lord, how far have I offended you? Please tell me. Herod, he was anxious to see Jesus, meet with goodness and kindness. To Herod, he was anxious. I do not know why. As we continue this Eucharistic celebration, let us ask that grace from the Lord. Lord, purify our consciences. Lord, please grant us a healthy conscience, because so that every day we hear your message loud and clear.